Welcome to today's Transformation Dive, where we're talking about something that makes most people sweat more than a spin class: money. Specifically, that little jolt of dread you get right before you open your banking app. Yeah, you know the one. It's like opening a mystery box where the prize is potentially just more stress. Why do we treat our finances like that relative we only see at awkward holiday dinners, avoiding eye contact and hoping they don't ask too many questions? If you're into real, actionable money and mindset content, hit like and subscribe. It helps way more than you think. It tells the algorithm you want more of this stuff, and frankly, we need more people confronting their money fears head on. Drop a comment with where you're watching from, or your biggest money habit win, no matter how small. Let's build this community of conscious money movers. Let's dive in and change the way you think about success. That flinch, the one you feel just before your finger taps that innocent-looking banking app icon. It's a physical reaction, a knot tightening in your stomach, a subtle pull away from looking at the numbers. You've been avoiding it, haven't you? Maybe it's been a day, maybe a week, perhaps even longer than you care to admit. It feels safer not to know the exact details, because in your gut, you think you know what's lurking in there, and it probably isn't good news. It's this vague, unsettling sense that money comes in, does a disappearing act after bills are paid, and poof, it's gone, leaving you with a balance that feels suspiciously low. Or worse, a red number that sends a cold shiver down your spine. People often tell themselves stories to justify this feeling. I don't make enough, you might think, automatically closing the door on exploring options. Or perhaps it's just that one unexpected bill, a convenient excuse that ignores a pattern of spending. Maybe it's the simple, resigned sigh of things are just expensive these days. These narratives aren't necessarily lies, but they become myths we cling to, casting our financial situation as a mysterious, uncontrollable force acting upon us, something we can only react to, like sudden bad weather. You see others on social media or among friends, seemingly managing just fine, or even boasting about financial wins, and you feel left behind, stuck in this cycle of earning, spending, and perpetual worrying. This feeling of being a victim of your money flow is perhaps the most common and the most insidious trap there is. It's rooted in a core lie that you aren't capable of understanding or directing your own finances. You believe you're powerless, that the numbers on the screen hold all the power, and your only job is to cross your fingers and hope they don't get worse. This isn't just about setting up budgets or meticulously tracking expenses in a spreadsheet, though those are valuable tools later on. It's fundamentally about confronting the discomfort, the fear, and yes, often the shame that keeps you from looking the truth square in the eye. Think of it like ignoring a weird noise in your car. It's uncomfortable to acknowledge, but ignoring it doesn't fix the problem. It just lets it get worse. The core concept here, the decision you need to make, is surprisingly simple yet profoundly difficult. You need to choose to see your money without judgment, without flinching away. This challenges the common thinking that you need a perfect plan before you look. The surprising habit is that the act of looking itself is the first step to taking control. It's building financial courage. Ask yourself, what's stopping you from simply opening that app right now and just looking, without immediately reacting or judging? Is it the fear of confirming your worst suspicions? This one habit, simply facing the numbers, even if it's just for 30 seconds a day, changed everything for me. It flips the script from money happens to me to I direct my money. That flinch, That's your signal that you're not in control. That's the feeling we need to transform into clarity and power. Ignoring it only gives it more power over you. Facing it takes that power back. And that flinch, that initial discomfort, is exactly where the transformation begins. It's proof that you're aware there's a disconnect between where you are and where you want to be financially. Instead of pushing that feeling down, acknowledge it. It's not a sign of failure. It's a signal for change. The biggest mistake people make is believing that facing their finances means immediately fixing them. It doesn't. It just means acknowledging the reality, the starting line. You wouldn't expect to run a marathon the second you decide you want to get fit, right? You start by acknowledging where you are, maybe taking a short walk. Similarly, financial health starts with awareness. The potential long-term benefit of simply facing your finances regularly is profound. It shifts you from a reactive state to a proactive one. When you know where your money is going, you can start making conscious choices about where you want it to go. This builds confidence and reduces anxiety over time. It's like turning the lights on in a dark room. You might not like everything you see initially, but at least you won't trip over things anymore. A deeper insight about money, discipline, and growth is that financial health is less about hitting a specific number and more about building a healthy relationship with your money. It's about understanding that money is a tool, not a master. Discipline isn't about deprivation. It's about conscious choice and alignment with your values. And growth isn't just about earning more. It's about stewarding what you have wisely, building habits that serve you, and freeing yourself from the constant cycle of worry. The flinch will become less intense, then disappear altogether, replaced by a quiet confidence. You'll know your numbers, understand your flow, and feel empowered to make decisions, not just react to circumstances. In the end, your bank account will catch up to your mindset, not the other way around. So you've decided to take a step towards gaining control. Maybe you've reflected on where things stand. But then you flinch, you hesitate, you avoid opening that banking app or looking at that credit card statement or totaling up those receipts from the past month. Why? Why the flinch? Why the avoidance? It's a question so many people face, and it's rarely, if ever, pure laziness. If you feel like you're avoiding your finances, don't beat yourself up. It's deeply, powerfully emotional. You might fear judgment, and let's be honest, it's usually judgment from yourself, not some external force. Seeing the actual numbers means confronting past choices head-on. The impulse buys that seemed like a good idea at the time. The nights out that ended up costing way more than you budgeted for, and probably included a questionable late-night pizza purchase you forgot about. The subscriptions you signed up for with grand intentions and promptly forgot existed. Hello, that streaming service you haven't touched in 6 months. It feels like staring into a financial mirror, reflecting back your mistakes, your lapses in discipline, maybe even parts of your life you'd rather not think about. But the fear of that perceived future pain is enough to keep you firmly rooted in avoidance. You might also feel utterly overwhelmed. Money management can feel like a foreign language, like it requires complex calculus or hours of boring, tedious data entry you simply don't have the time or mental energy for. This feeling of being overwhelmed is, for many, a highly effective defense mechanism. It's easier to believe it's too complicated for me, or I don't have the time, than to confront the often surprisingly simple, yet deeply uncomfortable reality. It's a shield against the vulnerability that comes with facing your numbers. Think about John, not his real name, but a common scenario. John actively avoids checking his bank balance or even looking at his spending summaries because he knows he overspent significantly on dining out last month. Every potential notification from his bank feels like a little poke of guilt, a reminder of a choice he regrets. So, what does he do? He disables notifications. He avoids the app. He pretends the problem isn't there. But here's the surprising insight, a truth that challenges common thinking. Avoiding your money doesn't make the problems disappear. It doesn't shrink the debt or magically grow your savings. What it does do is give those problems power. It allows them to operate in the dark, controlling you through fear and uncertainty. The truth, however uncomfortable, is the only path to genuine financial freedom and control. Facing the numbers isn't a punishment for past behavior. It's information gathering. It's like getting a map before starting a journey. You need to know where you are to figure out where you want to go. It transforms the unknown monster under the bed into a manageable challenge you can actually address. The action here, the first step out of avoidance, is simple but profound. Acknowledge the specific emotion that makes you flinch when you think about looking at your money. Is it shame about past choices? Is it fear of restriction in the future? Is it feeling completely overwhelmed by perceived complexity? Just name it. Giving the emotion a name reduces its power. Okay, let's expand section 3 based on your requirements. Now, you've probably heard the classic money-saving advice, cut out the daily latte, or stop buying expensive avocado toast. And honestly, they're not wrong. Those small expenses do add up over time. But here's the truth about that advice, the hidden pattern that turns helpful tips into a financial myth. The myth isn't that these things cost money. It's that they are the main problem, or even worse, that focusing on them is the first step you should take. It's like trying to bail out a sinking boat with a teaspoon while ignoring the gaping hole in the hull. People fixate on these highly visible, small leaks because, frankly, cutting them feels virtuous, like you're winning the game of personal finance. It's easier to brag about skipping coffee than admitting you have no idea where half your paycheck goes. Obviously, that $8 smoothie isn't the single reason you're not a millionaire yet. Nobody gets rich by only packing their lunch. But the pattern of mindlessly spending $8 here, $20 there, $50 somewhere else, without awareness or intention, is the problem. It's the financial equivalent of walking around with holes in your pockets, scattering cash without noticing where it lands. Think about Sarah, someone earning a decent income, maybe middle management, who diligently packs her lunch every single day, saving maybe $10 compared to eating out. She feels responsible, like she's on top of her finances. Yet, she's also juggling 3 streaming services she barely watches, maybe a subscription box that accumulates clutter, and a gym membership she hasn't used in 6 months after that New Year's resolution faded. She's saving $10 a day on lunch. That's $50 a week, maybe $200 a month. That's good. But she's losing $50, $80, even $100+ a month on unused services and forgotten subscriptions. The lunch saving is a conscious effort, while the subscriptions are silent drains, running in the background like a hidden app consuming your phone's battery. The surprising insight here is that it's not the size of the individual leak that matters most initially, but the blindness to it. You could have 10 small leaks adding up to $100 a month, or one large leak, adding up to $100 a month. The larger leak feels more urgent once you see it. But if you're blind to all of them, they're equally damaging to your financial flow. You need to see all the leaks, big and small, the daily coffees and the forgotten subscriptions, to truly understand your actual cash flow and stop the money from vanishing like a ghost. Ignoring the pattern of unconscious spending, regardless of the dollar amount in any single transaction, is like ignoring a slow leak in your tire because it's not a blowout yet. Eventually, you're stranded. This isn't about guilt. It's about gaining sight. It's about flipping on the lights in a room you thought was empty, only to find money scattered everywhere. This is where the real transformation begins. Now, for a critical step, something you can do right now, without judgment, without any pressure to cancel. Just list out 3 recurring small expenses you haven't actively thought about in months. Maybe it's a streaming service you don't use, an app subscription, a membership, or even a regular vending machine habit. This one habit, simply becoming aware, changed everything for me because it showed me the pattern, not just the isolated cost. Forget the word budgeting for just a second. Let's reframe this. Think of your money life not as a strict set of rules, but as a massive stream of data. Your bank statements, your credit card bills, those crumpled receipts in your pocket, the digital trail of your online purchases. They aren't judgments on your character. They are simply data points. Each transaction is a piece of information, a clue, telling a story about where your energy, your valuable time, translated into money, is actually flowing. It's like having a fitness tracker that logs every step, every heartbeat. The data isn't there to make you feel guilty about yesterday's lazy afternoon. It's there to inform how you move today. Imagine arriving in a brand new city. If someone handed you a map of where you walked yesterday, you wouldn't look at it and feel bad about the detours you took or the streets you missed. No, you'd look at that map, that data, to understand the city's layout and plan your route for today. Your money data is exactly that map for your financial journey. It shows you the terrain. Now, people often resist this idea of tracking money, right? The instant thought is, that sounds restrictive, like being put in a financial cage. And that's a huge misconception. This is the surprising insight. Tracking your money is the opposite of restrictive. It's profoundly liberating. Why? Because it reveals where your money actually goes, not just where you think it goes. You gain clarity. You gain power. When you see the reality, you gain the power to redirect your flow consciously, rather than feeling like your money just evaporates. It's like when you track your food intake and realize those small handfuls of snacks throughout the day add up significantly. Knowing that isn't a punishment. It's the necessary information to make a different choice next time. Think about Mark, a friend I know, who was convinced he spent maybe $300 a month on groceries. Sounds reasonable, right? But when he committed to just tracking everything for a week, he was floored. With frequent small trips to convenience stores for just one thing, impulse buys near the checkout, and spontaneous lunch runs, his food spending was actually closer to $500 or even $600 some months. That wasn't a failure on his part. It was crucial, undeniable data. Now, armed with that knowledge, he could plan better, make lists, and see the impact of those small, frequent purchases. He wasn't restricted. He was empowered to change his spending habits because he finally saw them clearly. So here's the action, and it's simple, low friction, and powerful. Choose one method, just one, right now. It could be as simple as a dedicated note in your phone, a small physical notebook you keep in your pocket, a budgeting app like Mint or Pocket Guard, or even a basic spreadsheet. And commit to using it for just 3 days. Don't try to analyze or judge anything yet. Your only job is to record every single dollar that leaves your hands or your account. Every coffee, every bill payment, every swipe, every online order, every vending machine purchase. Just record. Capture the data. Ask yourself, what's stopping you from seeing the real map of your money? This one habit of simply recording the truth can change everything. Try this for 3 days and see what data points appear. For the broke beginner, if you're staring at a bank account that feels like a barren desert, or maybe even in negative territory, the whole idea of managing money can honestly feel insulting. You're not thinking about investments or saving strategies. You are in pure survival mode. Every day is about making it to the next, just keeping the lights on and food on the table. It's completely understandable if you think, what's the point of tracking when there's barely anything to track? You might feel like you'd just be documenting your own financial distress, which feels not helpful. But here's the surprising truth, the one that changed everything for me and countless others starting from scratch. Tracking your money is arguably most powerful and most necessary, precisely when you have the least of it. When every single dollar, every single cent is critical to your immediate survival, knowing exactly where each one goes isn't a suggestion, it's a lifeline. This isn't about trying to find money to save just yet. Let's be real, that feels like a distant fantasy right now. This initial phase is purely about understanding your financial vital signs. It's about mapping your survival flow, making absolutely sure your essential needs are covered, and more importantly, stopping any and all unnecessary bleed. Think of it like this. When you're sick, the first step isn't to plan a marathon. It's to understand the illness, stop the bleeding if there is any, and stabilize. Your money is the same. When resources are scarce, visibility is everything. It's like playing a game with limited health. You track every bit of damage and every healing item meticulously. For the broke beginner, tracking every small income source, even that random $5 you earned selling something you didn't need, or every tiny cash transaction, isn't just accounting, it's empowerment. Finding that $5 you forgot you had can genuinely feel like finding a treasure chest when you're truly broke. Seriously, discovering $2 in an old coat pocket feels like winning the lottery's consolation prize. It matters. The surprising insight here is that control doesn't start with having a lot of money. It starts with gaining visibility over the money you do have, no matter how little. This builds a crucial habit and a foundational mindset shift incredibly early on. It teaches you, out of necessity, to differentiate between needs and wants when resources are incredibly scarce. It's like learning to budget for rations before you ever get to feast. This one habit of paying attention to every single dollar, even the loose change, changed everything for me by showing me exactly where my limited energy and money was going. So here is your immediate action, your first step in taking control when it feels like there is none. Try this for a week. For the next 7 days, track all income sources. Yes, even the small ones. That $7 you got back from a friend, that tip, that little bit of cash, and all essential expenses. We're talking rent, bare minimum groceries, not restaurants, just food, and absolutely necessary transportation to work or essential appointments. Don't worry about categorizing wants or calculating savings. Your sole focus is purely on mapping your survival flow. Understand the absolute minimum required to keep the lights on, and find if any money is slipping through your fingers that could be used for true essentials. This foundational awareness is the first step towards stability. Okay, let's continue our journey through the earn flow zone, focusing now on a different financial landscape. Section 6, for the growing earner. All right, let's talk about you. You're not exactly scraping by anymore. You've moved past the initial survival stage of personal finance. You're making decent money, maybe even hitting some significant financial milestones. A better job, a promotion, consistent income growth. You should feel secure, right? But somehow, that nagging feeling persists. I should have more saved or invested than I do. It's like the money disappears feeling still lingers. Just now the numbers involved are higher, and frankly, a bit more embarrassing to admit. You look at your bank account after expenses and think, wait, where did it all go? For you, tracking your money isn't about figuring out if you can afford groceries this week. It's about optimization. It's about acceleration. It's about making your money work harder and smarter, not just covering the bills. You're looking to find the fat in your spending, those expenses that aren't really adding significant value, joy, or long-term benefit to your life, and redirecting that capital towards your big goals. We're talking about funding that down payment faster, seriously boosting your investment portfolio, or absolutely crushing that debt instead of just making minimum payments. Think of it like upgrading from a basic map to a high-resolution GPS. You're no longer just finding your way, you're finding the fastest route to your destination. Here's the surprising part, the one that catches many growing earners off guard. At this stage, it's often not the obvious, glaring bad habits that are slowing you down. It's not necessarily a massive gambling debt or a crippling credit card balance, though those can exist at any level. More often, it's the complacent, unexamined lifestyle creep expenses that silently drain your wealth-building potential. It's the spontaneous $50 dinner delivery because you're tired, added up over a month. It's buying the slightly more expensive version of everything just because you can. It's that weekly subscription box you forgot about but feels too annoying to cancel. It's discovering, perhaps with a wince, that you spend $400 a month on things like impulse shopping or those expensive weekend activities that were just okay, not truly memorable or deeply enjoyable. You didn't need them, and they didn't add lasting value, but that money is gone, and it could have been compounding for you. This is where tracking reveals where your extra money, the money that could be building wealth, is actually flowing. It's like finding a bunch of small leaks in a pipe that collectively drain the pool surprisingly quickly. So here is your specific action tailored for the growing earner. Try this for a week. Specifically track all your discretionary spending. Don't worry about the mortgage or the essential utilities for these 7 days. Focus intently on anything beyond essential bills and basic needs. Your entertainment, dining out, subscriptions, shopping, hobbies, This isn't about guilt. It's about gaining crystal clear awareness to enable powerful redirection. Where is your potential wealth currently taking a detour? Once you see it, you gain the power to decide where you want it to go instead. All right, let's talk to you, the ambitious builder. You're not scraping by. You're earning significantly. Maybe you're running a thriving business, juggling multiple income streams, or just crushing it in your career to the point where cash flow isn't just a concept, it's the rhythm of your daily life. You think in terms of ROI, leverage, and scaling. For you, the idea of tracking every coffee probably sounds, well, a bit quaint, maybe even insulting to your level of financial sophistication. Why bother with pocket change when you're dealing with engines of growth and complex systems? But here's the surprising insight, the myth we need to bust for your level. For the ambitious builder, detailed financial monitoring, call it tracking if you must, but think of it as data analytics for peak performance, isn't about pinching pennies. It's about leverage, efficiency, and spotting opportunities invisible from the balcony. It's about understanding which parts of your money flow are profitable, self-sustaining engines that deserve more fuel, and which are hidden drains, silently siphoning resources, both personally and within your ventures. Imagine running a marathon fueled purely by Red Bull and hope. You're moving, sure, but is it efficiently? Data changes the game. You see, you can be incredibly busy, closing deals, launching projects, managing teams. You can be relentlessly busy, but also dangerously inefficiently busy. Lack of granular financial awareness at scale doesn't just mean you might overspend on snacks, though maybe you are overspending on snacks. No judgment. It means wasted resources that could be reinvested, missed strategic moves because you don't have the data to make them, and blind spots where competitors or market shifts could hit you hardest. It's like trying to scale a skyscraper without detailed blueprints of the load-bearing walls and the plumbing. You're building, but on potentially shaky foundations or missing vital systems. Though, hopefully, your actual construction isn't this haphazard. Money requires more attention than concrete sometimes. Think about it this way. You analyze market data constantly for your business. You look at conversion rates, customer acquisition costs, lifetime value. Why would you not apply that same rigor to the actual cash flow that fuels all of it? The relatable example here hits hard. Analyzing business expenses only to realize a specific expensive marketing channel has a terrible, non-existent return on investment. Or maybe you look at your personal business development spending, networking events, fancy dinners, online courses, and realize that despite the big price tag, it hasn't actually led to any new clients or significant connections in months. That money isn't working for you. It's just gone. Without the granular data, you just see a big number in an expense category and think, yep, that's the cost of doing business/being awesome. With the data, you see where it went and what it delivered or didn't. Tracking provides the raw data needed for those high-level strategic decisions that truly impact scale and long-term wealth. So, for the ambitious builder, the action isn't about budgeting $5 for coffee. It's this: identify one significant expense category, personal or business, that you haven't looked at closely. I mean, really analyzed in the last 3 months. It could be marketing, travel, subscriptions, personal development, whatever it is. Pull the data for last month. Go through it line by line. Examine exactly where that substantial chunk of money went. What was the specific return, impact, or value you got from each item? This one habit changed everything for me when I started scaling. It shifted my focus from just earning more to ensuring every dollar earned was effective. Ask yourself, are these expenses engines or drains. So you've started tracking. Maybe you're getting a handle on where your money is going. But let's be real. Why are we doing all this number crunching anyway? Is it just to make pretty spreadsheets or feel guilty about that extra latte? Absolutely not. The deepest, most transformative reason to track your money, to pay attention to the flow of your earnings and spending, is because it's about aligning your most finite and precious resources, your money and your time, with what truly, genuinely matters to you at your core. Think of your bank account, not just as a ledger, but as a living, breathing mirror reflecting your priorities back at you. Your spending isn't random. It's a direct, often brutal reflection of what you value, whether you've consciously chosen those values or if they've been dictated by default, habit, or external noise. This is where the disconnect hits hard for most people. You might say, with all your heart, that spending quality, present time with your family is your number one priority outside of earning. But then you look at the data, the cold, hard facts of your spending, and see that every spare dollar, every chunk of disposable income went towards that new gadget for your solo hobby, or lavish nights out with friends, or something else entirely that actually pulls you away from that valuable family time. That's a significant misalignment between stated values and actual resource allocation. Or consider health. You might preach about how vital physical and mental well-being are. You read articles, you intend to eat better, move more, prioritize sleep, but your spending data tells a different story. A steady stream flowing to fast food drive-thrus, impulse buys of processed snacks, maybe even subscription services for things that promote inactivity, and zero allocated for fresh, nourishing food, a gym membership, quality workout gear, or even just booking that annual checkup you keep putting off. Disconnect. Here's the one that hit me. And honestly, it's a classic example I see constantly. You look back at last month's spending and realize you spent more on convenience items, those quick stops because you were too busy to pack lunch, random online shopping just because it was easy, delivery fees galore, than you did on creating meaningful experiences with the people you love. Even though, deep down, what you actually crave, what truly fills your soul and builds lasting memories, are those shared moments, that connection, those experiences that can't be bought on impulse. It's like driving somewhere by default because you're on autopilot, not because it's the destination you truly want to reach. And often, that feeling of "where did my money go?" isn't just about poor budgeting. It's the symptom of this deep value misalignment. You earned it, you spent it, but you don't feel richer in the ways that actually matter to you. And here's the surprising, sometimes uncomfortable truth. Often, your unconscious spending isn't flowing towards anything you authentically value. It's flowing towards defaults, the easiest option, the path of least resistance. It's feeding habits you've built without conscious thought. It's bowing to external pressures, trying to keep up, responding to relentless advertising, buying things because there's an unspoken societal script that says you should. Your money is flowing out, like water from a bucket with holes you didn't know were there, but not necessarily to fuel your authentic self or build your chosen life. This is why tracking is so fundamentally powerful. It's not about judgment. It's about honest revelation. It shines a spotlight on these unconscious flows, these stark misalignments between your stated values and your actual allocation of resources. And once you see the disconnect, truly see it lay bare in the numbers, you are empowered to take back control, to consciously redirect your money and your time towards the things that genuinely bring you joy, growth, impact, and deep, lasting meaning in your life. So, based on the tracking you've bravely started, take a quiet moment. Look closely at the categories, the transactions, the patterns. Identify just one area where your spending doesn't seem to align with something you genuinely value. Maybe it's leisure spending that feels empty afterward, or convenience spending that you realize is stealing from deeper experiences, or subscription services you don't use but just haven't canceled, representing wasted potential. Find that one concrete misalignment. Then, lean into the discomfort and ask yourself honestly, why is my money flowing there instead of towards what truly matters to me? This is the first step towards real financial and personal freedom. Okay, so we've talked about getting a handle on your money flow, maybe even started tracking things. And for some people, there's this moment that hits. It's the fear that tracking your money, really looking at the numbers, is going to turn your life into some kind of financial prison. You imagine saying no to every coffee, every spontaneous dinner, every fun trip. People often picture budgeting as this rigid, joyless diet for your wallet, where every penny is scrutinized and pleasure is the first thing cut. They think, if I track, I'll just see how broke I am, and then I'll have to live like a monk. It feels like giving up control, like handing over the reins of your happiness to a spreadsheet. This mindset is a huge barrier, a financial paradox in itself, because the truth is, it's exactly the opposite. The surprising insight, the complete flip-flop of that fear, is that true financial control, built on that clear awareness you get from tracking, doesn't force you into a life of deprivation at all. It gives you permission to spend. Yes, you heard that right. Permission. Think of it like a GPS. If you don't know where you are or where you're going, you're probably just driving around nervously, maybe too slow, maybe too fast, constantly stressed about hitting a dead end or running out of gas in the middle of nowhere. But when you turn on the GPS, that's your tracking. You know your current location, the route, the traffic. Suddenly, you're confident. You know exactly how much money is coming in, where it's reliably going for essentials like bills and rent, and how much you need to save for your goals, whether that's a down payment, retirement, or just building up an emergency fund. When you have that clear map, you see the detours you can take, the scenic routes that bring you joy, without getting lost or running on empty. You can consciously allocate funds for the things that truly bring value and happiness into your life, guilt-free. The stress, the real reason you feel anxious about spending money, whether it's on something big or small, comes not from tracking, but from not knowing. It's that nagging uncertainty. Can I actually afford this? Or, if I buy this, will I regret it later? This lack of clarity leads to one of two extremes: either reckless spending fueled by a YOLO mentality, often followed by a nasty hangover of regret and overdraft fees, or excessive stinginess, where you deny yourself even small pleasures out of fear, leading to resentment and feeling trapped. Neither extreme is healthy or sustainable. When you know your numbers, you replace that anxiety with confidence. You move from guessing and hoping to knowing and deciding. It's like playing a game where you finally understand the rules and can see the score. You can make strategic moves instead of just wildly pushing buttons. Let's look at that relatable example. Imagine you've been tracking your income and expenses consistently for a month or two. You've seen where your money goes. You've identified how much you need for your fixed costs, and you've even set up automatic transfers to hit your savings goal for something important, maybe that dream vacation or paying off a chunk of debt. And then you look at your data, and you see you have $200 left over that isn't needed for bills or allocated savings. Instead of that $200 just vanishing into the ether of miscellaneous spending, or you feeling a pang of guilt every time you consider buying anything, you now have agency. You can decide with absolute confidence to spend $100 on a fantastic dinner with a loved one because you know you can afford it. It's not a treat that sabotages your future. It's a conscious choice that aligns with your value of enjoying life or nurturing relationships. That knowledge is incredibly powerful. It transforms spending from a potential source of anxiety or regret into an act of mindful allocation that serves your values. This one habit, truly embracing awareness through tracking, changed everything for me because it removed the guesswork and the accompanying stress. It allowed me to differentiate between impulse buys driven by uncertainty and conscious spending decisions driven by intention. The myth bust here is profound. Budgeting and tracking aren't about saying no to everything. They're about saying yes to the things that matter most, because you've created the financial space for them. It's less about restriction and more about optimized flow, like a gardener directing water to the plants that need it most. So, here's a prompt for reflection and action. Look at your recent spending data, maybe the last week or two if you've started tracking, or even just think about a few recent purchases. Find one expense, big or small, that genuinely brought you value, joy, or relief. Maybe it was buying ingredients for a healthy meal, getting that book you wanted, or going to a concert. Now, acknowledge this. Knowing your money flow, understanding where you stand, helps you make space for conscious spending like that. It's not reckless, it's empowered. See how tracking isn't the enemy, but the key to unlocking permission? Okay, you've taken the first step. You've tracked your spending for a few days. For some, that was maybe a painful reckoning. For others, perhaps surprisingly insightful. You saw where the money really goes when no one's watching. But here's the million-dollar question. How do you make this initial burst of awareness stick? Because the goal isn't perfection in logging every single penny from day one. The goal is consistency. It's about building what we call the seeing habit here at Earn Flow Zone. Think of it like going to the gym. Showing up for one intense workout is great, but it's the person who shows up consistently, 3 or 4 times a week, who builds the muscle and sees lasting change. Your financial health is no different. You need to consistently flex that awareness muscle. The core concept here is finding a method that seamlessly fits into your already chaotic life. It doesn't need to be a rigid, complicated system. Maybe it's a quick entry into a simple tracking app every few hours. Or perhaps you just snap pictures of receipts throughout the day and log them in bulk later that evening. For some, a dedicated 5 minutes, first thing in the morning, or right before bed, is the sweet spot. The absolute key is to lower the barrier to entry as much as humanly possible. Don't turn this into a huge production that feels like filing your taxes every day. That's a guaranteed way to quit within a week. Here's a relatable example that worked wonders for me and countless others. Set a daily non-negotiable reminder on your phone. Pick a time when you're usually winding down, like 9 p.m. The reminder doesn't need to be fancy. It can just say, "Money check." When that notification pops up, You open your chosen tracking method, whether it's a spreadsheet, an app, or even a simple note on your phone, and take literally 2 minutes to log the day's spending. Seriously, 2 minutes. It's less time than you probably spend scrolling social media before bed. Now for the surprising insight. And this is where many people get hung up trying to find the perfect tool or system. The habit of checking in, the act of seeing where your money is going, is infinitely more important than the specific app or spreadsheet you use. Let that sink in. Even if all you do daily is glance at your main bank account balance for 30 seconds, you are building awareness. You are fostering the seeing habit. Perfection is truly the enemy of progress here. Don't wait until you have the ideal setup. Don't beat yourself up if you miss a transaction or a day. Just get the data. Getting 80% of the data 100% of the time is far more valuable than getting 100% of the data only 20% of the time. The goal right now is simply getting the information into your system, no matter how crude that system might feel at first. So, here's your action step, your next challenge. Commit to tracking for just 7 more days using the method you've chosen, the one that feels easiest, the one with the lowest barrier. Set a specific time each day for your money check. Put that reminder on your phone right now. Just 7 days. Make it a non-negotiable appointment with your financial reality. You don't need to analyze, judge, or change anything yet. Just see. Just track. Just build the habit. Okay, so you've been tracking your money, right? Maybe for a week, maybe 2. You've seen the numbers come in, perhaps felt a little surprised, maybe even a little uncomfortable. That first step, tracking, is like getting the map. It shows you where you are. But let's be real, looking at a map doesn't get you anywhere if you just stare at it on your kitchen table. Section 11 is all about moving beyond tracking and stepping into the crucial phase, taking action. This is where you stop being a passive observer of your money story and start becoming the director. Once you have that week or 2 of real, raw data in front of you, patterns start to jump out. It's like seeing trails suddenly appear on your map. Maybe you consistently overspend on Tuesdays or Thursdays. Is it the midweek takeout slump? Maybe that miscellaneous category is looking suspiciously high. Or perhaps the coffee budget is looking less like a budget and more like a lifestyle choice. Hey, no judgment here. We've all been there. Sometimes my grocery bill looks like I'm preparing for the apocalypse, or at least a very large dinner party for squirrels. This isn't about shame. It's about information. This data gives you the power of conscious decision. It's the difference between blindly wandering and deliberately choosing your path. And this is where a major myth gets busted. Taking action on your spending isn't about cutting everything you enjoy out of your life. It's not about living on rice and beans unless you want to live on rice and beans. The power isn't in the reduction for the sake of reduction. It's in the reallocation. It's about looking at those patterns and asking, okay, where is this money going now? And where could I send it instead that aligns better with my goals? Can you find efficiencies? Maybe switching providers for a service you use regularly saves you $20 a month. That's not cutting pain. That's just smart optimization. Can you reduce spending in one area, perhaps one you didn't even realize was so high, and redirect that exact amount to something that truly matters more to you? Think about it like training for a race. You track your miles, your pace, maybe your diet, the tracking part. But the results come from using that data to adjust your training plan, the action part. You see your week on hills, so you add more hill sprints. You notice you're crashing mid-run, so you adjust your nutrition timing. It's informed action leading to progress. The same applies here. You notice you're spending $150 a month on impulse buys from those tempting online ads because you clicked on one too many marketing emails. That's a clear pattern. The action? Unsubscribe from those emails. It takes maybe 5 minutes. The impact? You just freed up $150 a month. That $150 isn't just gone. It's available. Now you can consciously choose where that money goes. Maybe it's an extra payment towards that annoying debt, or an extra contribution to your investment account, or maybe it builds up your emergency fund faster. And that brings us to the surprising insight. The true, lasting power isn't in merely tracking your expenses. Anyone can install an app and look at colorful charts. The real power, the engine of financial growth, lies in the informed choices you make because of that tracking. Data isn't just information, it's leverage. It empowers redirection. It turns, "Gee, where did my money go?" into, "Okay, I see exactly where it went, and now I'm sending it here instead." This one habit of reviewing and redirecting changed everything for me and for countless people I've coached. It shifts you from a reactive financial life to a proactive one. So here's your action step for this section. Look at the spending data you've collected over the past week or two. Be honest with yourself. Identify one single category or pattern where you could potentially reduce spending without significant pain or sacrifice. Not 10 categories, just one. It could be that takeout budget, the impulse buys, unused subscriptions, or even finding a slightly cheaper alternative for something you buy regularly. Then, immediately decide where you would redirect that exact amount of money instead. Will it go to debt, savings, investing, a specific goal? Make that decision now, because seeing the map is good, but using the map to choose your destination is how you actually get there. Section 12. Welcome to today's Transformation Dive. Let's be real. Scrolling social media endlessly is often easier than looking at your bank account balance, right? It's ironic. We crave financial freedom, yet we actively avoid the very information that would show us the path. If you're into real, actionable money and mindset content, hit like and subscribe. It helps way more than you think. Drop a comment with where you're watching from or your biggest money habit win. Let's dive in and change the way you think about success. We started this journey talking about the flinch, that almost involuntary reaction, that gut feeling of money just slipping away, of being swept along like a leaf in a financial current, feeling like a victim to forces outside your control. We pulled back the curtain on why we flinch, why we instinctively avoid the raw truth of our finances. It's tangled up in fear, shame, and that paralyzing overwhelm. Looking feels like confronting a monster under the bed. And along the way, we busted some persistent myths, didn't we? The idea that your financial woes are just about small, insignificant leaks you can ignore, or that tracking your money is some kind of financial straitjacket restricting all joy. That's simply not true. We saw how deeply understanding your money flow isn't just for finance gurus. It's profoundly powerful for everyone. Whether you're just starting out, earning a solid income, or aggressively building wealth, it's the critical link between where your money goes and your deepest values, giving you genuine permission to live intentionally, not just reactively. This journey has led us to one core principle, simple yet incredibly profound. Radical ownership of your money flow starts with seeing it clearly, honestly, and without judgment. It's the shift from being that passive observer, fingers crossed that things will magically get better, to becoming the active, empowered director of your financial life. You stop being a passenger, just hoping not to hit rocks, and start navigating the current, charting your own course. But what happens if you ignore this crucial lesson? What if you keep flinching, keep avoiding the simple act of looking? You stay stuck. Period. You remain trapped in that frustrating cycle of earning money and perpetually wondering where the heck it all went. You continue to feel powerless, making financial decisions based on vague guesses and fleeting emotions rather than solid data and clear intention. Opportunities for saving significantly, investing wisely, and accelerating your growth pass you by because you simply don't know where to find the resources within your own flow. You remain needlessly susceptible to financial stress and anxiety because you lack the fundamental clarity that true control brings. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The myth of being a victim of your money becomes your reality. But the moment you choose to look, the moment you choose to track, even just for one day, one transaction, you reclaim your power. You unlock insight. You create the tangible possibility for conscious change. It's the absolute difference between drifting aimlessly wherever the wind blows and deliberately setting a course towards your desired destination. Think about it. Your money flows somewhere anyway. Isn't it time you decided where? The ultimate freedom isn't having unlimited money. It's having complete, confident command over the money you do have. It's knowing its path, understanding its purpose, and directing it purposefully towards the life you actually want to build. And it all starts with one simple, brave step today. Here is the action, right now. Open your primary banking app or wallet right now. Not later, not tomorrow, right now. Look at the last 3 transactions. Just look. Acknowledge them. Say their names in your head if you need to. That's it. You looked. You didn't flinch away this time. You just took the very first step towards owning your flow.